Today I've got something I'm really interested in. It's been around for quite a while and I have had my eye on it, but it just now started getting kind of popular again. It's the ENTINA TINA 2 miniature 3D printer. And this thing is semi-enclosed, it's small, and it looks really awesome. What's going on, guys? Welcome to Rhino Review Stuff. I'm Rhino and I review stuff. And as I mentioned, the stuff I've got to review today is the ENTINA TINA 2. Now, I do have the basic model here. And yeah, honestly, that's perfect for me because I'm not a big fan of connecting my stuff to Wi-Fi. So keep that in mind. This is the basic unit. And I'm really interested to see what you can do with something that's basic. So I was contacted by the company to make this video here. However, nobody is viewing this video before it gets posted to YouTube. In fact, I actually got this, about a month and a half ago, and nobody from the company has even contacted me to see how far along the video is. So really, this is kind of all my thing. Nobody even knows if it's ever going to be a video on YouTube, except for you guys because you're watching it now. So let's get to the unboxing portion here. And you'll have to excuse me, the audio is going to get a little wonky because I'm going to kind of be facing that way and my microphone's situated over here. But yeah, let's get started with this. First thing out of the box here, we've got the unpacking guide of the TINA 2. Also has these rubber-coated pieces of paper, and I am going to assume these are used for the purposes of leveling. At least I'm hoping. Then again, I didn't really pay much attention to anybody else's video. I just looked at the prints and thought, wow, those look pretty awesome. So I'm not even sure if you have to level this. I'll let you know. So yeah, unpacking guide, and here is the actual user manual. And it's entirely in English. We got a starter set of filament. We've got our assembly tools, micro SD card, and the SD card reader. And we got a power cable. Nothing else in the box. Power brick with an on and off switch. This thing is crazy little. Here's the build plate, and it is magnetic, and it is flexible. So that's pretty cool. I wasn't really expecting that. It is already covered with masking tape, so that's going to help with some adhesion there because this thing does not have a heated bed. Checking out the top of the unit, you do see the LCD screen. It's also got a QR code. You can scan that if you'd like to. And yeah, you've got a little viewport to check out the insides while it's doing its thing. And of course, there's a control knob. On the side of the unit, we've got our arm here to hold the filament, and we've got our extruder. And it is open here, and it actually has some pretty substantial nuts there on the top. So this should be pretty easy to adjust. On the back of the unit here, you can see the internals. There's the internals. On this side of the unit, we've got our USB, and we've got our power input. And that brings us back around to the front of the unit. And as you can see, there is no shield in here to do any sort of protecting from harm, if you will. I know on the older units, they did have a metal shield. It was kind of griddled like a wiffle ball. Yeah, that does not appear to be the case with the new TINA 2s. And honestly, I kind of like that because I would like to get some good video from the inside here. And yes, expect that to be coming up soon. Now, if you guys recall, in the past I have used one of these tiny form factor printers, and I got some pretty decent results from it. Of course, the results for others varied. In fact, there was somebody who noticed that it did not have a runoff detector and got way overheated and almost set his house on fire. Well, that's a bad thing, and I have not plugged mine in since then. However, for the purposes of this video, I am going to compare the two. Let's see what a $130 system does compared to a $99 system like the one I reviewed last time. And I don't really think they're even going to be comparable. That extra $30 is going to get, hopefully, something pretty amazing out of this TINA 2. I'm pretty pumped. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing plugged in. I'm going to do some time lapse, and I will come right back to you guys with my final results and my final review. You know what? Scratch that. This is Rhino from about 20 minutes in the future. And I've decided I'm going to do this the professional way. We're going to check out the SD card here, and then we're going to check out the unit when I first power it up. I do have a couple of things that I would like to mention that I found out since I did some assembly. these two pieces right here are not actually to do any leveling, because this levels automatically. Woohoo! These are actually replacement mats for the build plate. So when the masking tape on there runs out, you got 2 extra pieces. And honestly, I don't see them running out anytime soon, just because I'm pretty careful. So that's nice to have. So let's check out the SD card here. Looks like we got some good stuff. We've got a butterfly. Looks like 45 minutes for a butterfly. We've got a cat, 3 hours for that. We've got a 1 hour and 33-minute dragon, and I will be printing every single one of these. We've got a fish, we've got a gear, we've got a love gear. We've got a ring, we've got a test, and we've got a Zunlu? I'm not really sure what that means. I guess I could probably look it up and translate it, and I will put it somewhere on the white section of this little video segment. Let's see here. What else we got? We've got the software. So it looks like we've got a Cura version here for the Mac, WeBuilder for Mac, and we've got the driver for the Mac. So when you connect this up to your computer via USB. Same thing for the Windows version, right there, as you can see. I have already installed the driver. I've already got Cura, so I'm definitely not going to use their older version. WeBuilder, I have no idea what that is. I'm going to look that up real quick, and I will write it down there. So that's WeBuilder. And of course, we've got the user manual. We've got the unpacking guide, which we also got a paper copy of. And we've got the user manual itself, which we also got a paper copy of. It's always nice to have a copy on the computer in case you happen to misplace those. And honestly, I don't think I'm going to be removing any of these things from this computer, or from this little drive. So there you go. While we're here, should I go ahead and open up Cura and slice some of my own? I think we shall. So here we are in the new Cura 5.2. This is the beta. I did have to make a custom profile because the only way you can get a profile for the Tina 2 is if you use their older version of Cura. And I'm not going to play that game. So here's 5.2. And this is the settings that I came up with by pulling from the profile setup, machine setup that was on the Cura that came with the SD card. That was a mouthful. So yeah, we've got 100 millimeters on the X, 120 on the Y, and 100 on the Z. Build plate is rectangular. There is no heated bed. And then we've got the custom G-code here for the start and end. I will leave that down there in the description so you can copy that at your leisure. I did join the Tina group on Facebook, and this information was just not available. Like, nobody thought to post it. So I have posted it there. And I'll be posting this video there as well for others to reference in the future. So yeah, we got some custom G-code there. It's the basic stuff, really. There's nothing too special about it. So yeah, you can take a look. Looks good. On to the profile, I found a French person who made a video review for this and how to set it up in Cura. And I downloaded the profile they had on their YouTube video, so I will also leave a link to their YouTube video in the description. Really not much has changed. It's very, very standard stuff. I think they might have changed a little bit of the speed settings and the material here. The temperature is at 200. I like to set it at about 208. So I've set that up just for myself. That's the custom Rhino profile right there. So when I started off with this, I started this with the Monoprice Mini version 2 because I think this machine is not only a ENTINA Tina 2, it's a WeDo Tina 2, and a Monoprice Tina 2. No, wait, Monoprice Cadet. So I figured, you know what, Monoprice has a lot of stuff there. They've got some small printers, so I just kind of copied one of theirs. And yeah, so it's going to say Mini in the background. I think that's okay. You guys mind? I don't mind. So let's open up a file. Going to start off here with one of the files that I made myself. This will be the first time it has ever been printed on any sort of 3D printer, resin, or filament. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it turns out. Where is it? Is it tiny? Oh, it's so tiny. Very little. Zoop. Nope. There we go. That's not bad. I think this will be a pretty good size for it. It's not a very complicated print. Really, the only overhangs it's got here are under the chin, a little bit under here on the nose. I don't think I'm even going to worry about the ones there on the eyebrows. And yeah, the head's got some massive stuff to it. So I am going to go ahead and do some support. On the bottom, it's got me. 3 hours, that's not bad at all. Okay, some really simple edits there. I just turned it back to 60 degrees. I think it looks like it's probably going to get just about everything that could possibly droop. And if not, it's close enough that it's not going to matter too much. So yeah, we'll get that thing printed tonight. And a quick jump cut to the WeBuilder. This is WeBuilder. It's obviously a customized version of some sort of slicing software. This is version 2.160. Has very similar tools to like an older version of Cura. There's not as many options that you can change here. You can go to the advanced settings. There's no tooltips or anything to help you on your way. You're just kind of gonna have to know what everything means. And I really don't. Even though I've been printing for a couple of years now, I am just not an expert when it comes to what all of these little options are for. So yeah, I usually just keep it like that. And let's see here. Yes, this looks normal. Adhesion brim. I'll stick with the brim on this one. And takes just about as long as Cura. You can see it did build a couple of supports, and yes, there is some inside. I guess that's useful. And yeah, let me save this to the card. I've also got about 20 other things that I've saved. I don't know if I'm going to print them all, but I'm going to pick my favorites. And this right here is the 12-minute test print, and it actually looks really, really good. Didn't have very good adhesion on this part here. However, I think that might be part of the raft, so yoink. Yeah, that was part of the raft. So 12 minutes, it actually took about 14. There is some slight stringing in there. Let me get this camera turned on and you guys can take a look at that. So this is the very first one, and you can see there is some slight stringing in there, but check it out. Those are some super nice looking layers. Like even for a little print that came right off of the G-code there that was already on the SD card, this looks pretty good. So yeah, I'm just going to go print crazy real quick, and we're going to see what we can get. I'll come back to you guys soon. Well, I've spent several days now with the ENTINA 2, and I am extremely impressed. For a budget printer in this form factor, this can do some really amazing stuff. I am super impressed with it, and I am very happy that I've got this thing in my possession. It's definitely going to be a keeper, and it's definitely going to be a part of my usual workload. I actually might end up taking this to my actual work with me, because this thing is actually easy enough, actually, for kids to use it. And there's so little setup involved that really it's turn the knob, pick your file, and push print, and it just works. I did have one thing that I had to change. I did have to adjust the Z offset. Other than that, no problems. Like perfect prints almost every single time. I have only had one failed print. So speaking of those prints, let's check them out now. So you've already seen my first print here. Yeah, it's a square. My second print is the butterfly. And yeah, he kind of came apart. He turned into pieces. And unfortunately, there's just not much I can do about that. I think that went there, and then this went. Yeah, so that's a flappy butterfly. This is one of the files that was on the thumb drive or the micro SD card. And yeah, you can see it just did not turn out too well. And I think that's mainly because the base plate. All of the files on the card have a raft. They don't have like just a thin layer. They've got an actual raft. So all of these pieces were stuck to the raft. And I mean like really stuck. And you can see how easily these just fall apart. I could possibly snap them back into place and they would still be usable. But no, the butterfly, I'd say that's a failure. Second print was the test dog. Everybody's seen the test dog before. Really good job on the layering. Excellent layers. Tail looks pretty good. He's got a little bit of lumps there, but like under extrusion. Does not the best job here on the overhang. As you can see here, and here, and here. Wherever there's an overhang a little bit over 40 degrees, you kind of get some little issues there. Also, I'm not sure if it was just because this file, but for some reason the seam runs along the front of him. Not sure why that is. Most of them that I've printed, the seam has been in the back. I'm not sure if that was my slicing software, if that's just this model. Kind of an odd place for it to be, though. I don't like that. Next up, printed one of these name plaques. And again, it printed on a raft, but it already has a raft. So it was like doubly stuck. And yeah, some of the letters here are no longer actually where they should be. I have had to glue them a little bit. You can see the R there is a little bit wonky still. Last one with the blue. This turned out much smaller than I expected. And again, it printed with a raft. And when you print with a raft, it takes off the bottom couple of layers there. So that was kind of a shame. I wish I had known that it automatically did a raft. I'm not sure if that's just the slicer settings, but I'm going to have to go in there and really check things out and make sure the custom profile I installed isn't forcing it to use a raft. I switched over to a little bit of red. Got my lithopane here. It is tough to see and tough to demonstrate, but these are the Pokemon. There's Bulbasaur, Charmander, Pikachu, Snorlax, and Squirtle. And it actually works pretty well. You can see the layer there is not that great. Again, this printed automatically with a raft. Luckily, the backside actually didn't turn out too bad. One of my favorite prints here is the Surprised Patrick. The details are excellent. Everything on here looks fantastic. Again, with the overhangs here, you can see there inside of his mouth. Yeah, the overhangs just didn't work too well. So that's one of those settings I am going to have to look at. Check out the bottom here. It's actually got the letters. You can actually read it. I think that's awesome. I did not know that there were letters on the bottom of this. Nothing else I've ever printed on has pulled that off. So, yeah. Other than the overhanging there, really good print. Pretty satisfied. Look at how smooth those layer lines are. And those bumps are actually part of the model. I like it a lot. Next up, the Chinese named file that was on the SD card. This is what it is. It's a movable reindeer. He's got wiggly legs. Everything moves as expected. The tail there printed out flawlessly. Up on the antlers, again, when it got to those overhangs, and this is one of the files that's included on the SD card. When it got to the overhangs, it did have some little hiccups. Definitely need to adjust some fan speed here. But other than that, looks great. I kind of like it. I printed my favorite skull here. This is Jim Overton's skull. I have not done any cleaning up on it, so you can see there's still a couple little blobs here and there. The supports here, and I definitely want to talk about supports. I'm not sure if it's because of the temperature I'm printing at, but the supports are like super attached. So I am going to have to fiddle around with my settings and stuff. That goes across the board. Anything that had any supports, it just stuck really, really tight. So I will be going through my own settings and changing some of that stuff. I have been able to pick most of it off. But yeah, just left the bottom here looking really nasty. The rest of the print, however, looks super good. This is a very smooth print. And it's one of my favorites to print. I also printed it off on the WizMaker a while back. You can see I did actually make this bigger because I filled up the build plate. I used as much of the build plate as I could forward and back to make this one. And yeah, it's slightly bigger. I'd say the quality is, I'd say very, very similar to it. The WizMaker here was printed at 0.1. This one was printed at 0.2. They did take roughly the same amount of time, but overall, I mean, even here, check out the bottom of this one. They're very comparable. I am shocked at how good the quality is for essentially a children's printer. I'm really shocked. And the last thing I printed was my little Minecraft dude. So this is my realistic Minecraft villager. You guys saw me working on this one on the screen. It came out pretty good. He does have some layer lines here and there, but for the most part, it looks great. Even down to the hair detail. Check that out. So yeah, it's got the hair detail. He's got the wrinkles on his forehead. It's kind of tough to see with my overhead light here, but that came out flawlessly. The only parts that, again, are messed up are the parts that required support. However, the supports were a lot easier to pull off. This file was put together with their WeBuilder. So yeah, the WeBuilder did a little bit better job than my Cura profile. I said before I'm going to check my settings, and I've definitely got to check my settings. And after I've done some more troubleshooting and stuff, and I get those settings set up just perfect for my machine, I will post that link down there in the description. That way, if you guys want to download the special profile coming from Rhino here, you will have that available to you. So not only will you be able to use the one from that other guy who made a video before me, but you'll be able to use mine. And using his, yeah, just the supports are way too much. Speaking of the supports being way too much, check it out. They even stick to the build plate a lot. Like everything was sticking to the build plate. Like I said, I had to adjust my Z offset because they were just coming down way too much. I didn't get any weird elephant's feet, but then again, everything was printing on a raft. But yeah, now I see why they gave you some extra masking tape. I will be having to update my masking tape situation soon. Final thoughts on the ENTINA TINA 2. Totally worth it. The price tag is completely acceptable for a unit that pumps out this type of volume at this type of quality. It is so much better than the Lionessel that I reviewed last year. They were actually priced at about the same at the time. So the TINA 2 way outshines this. It is comparable to a real 3D printer. This is a real 3D printer. I definitely recommend this one for a classroom use. It is a little bit loud, but it's not so loud that it would be like overpowering or distracting if you're doing this, like printing something during lunchtime or during recess time or during one of those active times when you're all together at the table or on the carpet and you're doing whatever teachers do with their class. This would be really cool for that. The printing speed is pretty decent. I was also impressed with that. The bed itself is just a slab of magnet. This looks like it's about 2 millimeters tall, maybe 3. And that's just magnetic sheet. You can easily replace this. It's not a piece of metal or anything. And yeah, slap some masking tape on there and you got a new one if this one's ever damaged. I kind of like that. Inexpensive fixes. The customer support is great. I contacted them about the little zip ties to make sure I had got everyone that needed to be clipped. And they got back to me within about 24 hours. They said, do not clip those. So I did not clip the zip ties. Everything was intact. And as you saw, the results were very, very good. Once I get those settings really tweaked in and I get a little bit more printed through this, I will definitely have a printer that exceeds all of my expectations and is comparable to every printer I've tried. But the form factor is where this one really shines. This thing is absolutely minuscule. In my Lionessel that I reviewed last year, it has a very large enclosure and it actually has a much smaller build plate by about 20 and by 40 millimeters respectively. So this one's got bigger internals and it's a smaller case. It's quieter than the Lionessel. It's got more features. It's got the auto leveling, which is awesome, by the way. Just adjust your Z offset. And yeah, the other children's 3D printers in this price range just do not have that. So ENTINA TINA 2, WeDo TINA 2, or the MakerBot Cadet, pretty good printer. Very solid unit. I am absolutely in love with it. I am very pleased that it is in my collection here. And honestly, I think I'm going to be using this one a lot more than my WizMaker back there. She's getting a little bit tired of me talking to her. So it's time for Tina. If you enjoyed this review, like, subscribe, and all that jazz. And as always, the links will be down there in the description. And I'll see y'all later. Bye.